Today's video is on how I cast my natural ballistics gelatin blocks to do the bullet testing I do. I first measure out the water that I need to fill my molds. Then I measure out the amount of gelatin I need for the mold, and I mix it into cold water, as I just find that tends to work the best for my mixing. There, I pour it in fairly quick. Get it mixed up good. I'm not overly concerned about bubbles because I take care of those later. It's all the more mixing you need. That gets put in the refrigerator. I let it bloom for a couple hours. The bubbles are on top. As you melt this, the bubbles pretty much take care of themselves. I break it up, then I use my canning pot with the wire rack flipped over as a double boiler so that I can melt that gel after it's done blooming. Pour that into my mold down here, which I have a bamboo shish kebab stick, some fishing line, some Schedule 40 PVC. I cast into my gel to simulate bone. I just pour that right into my mold. I do not completely fill my mold here, that way I can carry it over to the refrigerator easier. After I set in the refrigerator, I take my little pot and I top off my mold. When mixing ballistics gelatin, you're aiming for a 10%. The ballistics manufacturers specifically use 10% because they've done extensive research on it. It is the most accurate you can get other than actually shooting into an animal. I have talked to a few different bullet manufacturers. They do not recommend using hide and bone. They say it's not necessary. If you want to see how the bullet breaks up more, it'll show that, but not necessarily accurate penetration depths. They actually have that accounted in for in the 10% gel. And when I was doing research before this, contacting just about every bullet manufacturer out there, it came strongly recommended to use 10% gel, no bone and hide necessary, and absolutely do not trust the results if you use 20% gelatin, as it is way too dense for any muscle fiber of any animal in North America and most animals in Africa. That was a old NATO standard, and there are reasons why they don't use it anymore. So mixing ballistic gelatin, relatively simple overall. Keep it simple. Canning pot makes a great double boiler. You will find it easier if you mix your gelatin in cold water. Bloom it for 2 to 3 hours. Melt it down. Cast it in your gel molds. I take and I skim a few of those bubbles off the top of the mold, but as it chills, most of the bubbles pop and dissipate. They don't affect the natural ballistics gelatin, but it really is that simple. So I suggest get out, have some fun, cast some natural gel blocks, and test some of your bullets. There's the wire rack in the bottom of my canning pot. Great double boiler. I built acrylic molds. You do have to be careful when you're using acrylic molds not to get your gel too hot when you're melting it down. But other than that, they work great. Don't have to use any releasing agents. Absolutely love my acrylic molds. So hope you guys find this video helpful. Definitely get out, have some fun, shoot. It's fun to test your bullets just to kind of see what they're going to do before you get out there using them. That's how I cast my gel blocks before getting out there in the field testing. My testing is solely because I couldn't find the information I was looking for. I want to know the high and low ends of bullet performance, and simulating those 800 to 1,000 yard plus shots. Yes, I agree with most of the hunting industry. That's an unethical distance to hunt, but knowing your bullet will perform is always a good thing. But I won't recommend hunting past 400 to 500 yards in any situation. It's really not that hard to cut the distance. Unfortunately, we have really taken the sport out of hunting and brought sport shooting into hunting, which is not fair game chase for the animals. I've heard way too many horror stories of people, well, I'm not even sure I hit the animal or not. 2-3 days later, somebody comes across the animal because they're shooting way too far to be hunting ethically, even if you can place the shot well. I've even heard the horror stories of people hitting that animal at 1,000 plus yards. I saw them go down, couldn't get over there and actually find their animal before the meat spoiled. So my tests are to show what the bullets will do. I really don't want to encourage anybody to hunt at extreme long ranges. Become a good hunter. Cut the distance. Shooting a nice bull elk at 15 yards gives you a heck of a lot more bragging rights than, oh, I shot him at 1,200 yards. Become a good hunter. Because if that shot is difficult to make, then that is not an ethical shot to take, which rules out 99% of shots taken over 500 yards. Please respect the animals. Knowing the equipment will do it, knowing you can place a shot, still have enough respect for the animals to get in there, cut the distance, and be a good hunter. Just about anybody with the right equipment and a little bit of training can be a good shooter. It takes actual skill to be a good hunter. So get out, have some fun, shoot as much as you can.